We are all here for today's call. I'm just completely honored. I think a lot of you guys maybe heard me say that I was training jiu-jitsu now for about 3.5 years. My morning instructors, one guy was a SWAT officer and the other guy was a beat cop in Westerville. And I'm like, man, these are the best guys for me in my life. I'm running a safety team of a mega church right now. I want to learn from these guys. So they're weaving in all these stories of real life with jiu-jitsu, which is one of the primary reasons I take it, is for safety and for being able to de-escalate situations and so forth. And when they told me that they were moving on, they both got their black belts together, started together, got their black belts together, and then shifted. I was so disappointed because I was like, man, I just don't know if there could have been anybody else better for that first 2.5 years of my journey. Well, anybody that knows me really well knows that my dad was 32 years in the military. I'm one of those guys that if you dance on my flag, I might end up doing something that I regret because I'm very patriotic. I love our nation. I have the greatest and utmost respect for people in the military, whether it be certainly enlisted, which my dad was, rising to the ranks of an E8, and then certainly officers. And a lot of people know I read about a book every 2 to 3 weeks. About every third or fourth book that I read is something on military strategy or on special forces, special operations. And I figure I love it because it, that's something that kind of lets me decompress from all the other things that I do, but I also love the strategy behind it. So when I heard, which I had met General Ferriter before, but when I heard General Ferriter was going to be stepping in, I'm like, okay, Lord, you knew that this was the right guy. Even if it wasn't the right guy for everybody else, it was the right guy for me. So I'm so excited. So let me give you a quick official introduction and let's get into it. But today I have the privilege of welcoming a true leader of leaders, retired 3-star General Michael Ferriter. General Ferriter is a decorated Army Ranger who's commanded a special elite operation units in Iraq, has led over 75 Army bases worldwide. He's reshaped the Army's combatives program. So that's fighting style in the late 90s by integrating in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. He's not only a seasoned warrior and strategist, but also a lifelong learner, a mentor, a multiple degree black belt who continues to train and teach the next generation, which I'm a part of that. Anthony, I see Chris is on the call. Chris has been able to train under General Ferriter. And we are going to dig into his lessons from the battlefield, the command post, and the mat, and learn how we can all implement inspired leadership in our businesses, our careers, and our daily lives. So let's give a warm welcome to the Expert Edge Mastermind call to General Mike Ferriter. So great to see you. Thank you so much. I had a full bio, but man, I would rather just, he'd probably say, yeah. We were kind of joking about it as he was actually on the Jocko podcast. So anybody that's familiar with the Jocko podcast, you probably know what I'm talking about, but Jocko Willink. And I'm sitting here thinking, wow, he was on the Jocko podcast. Now he's been on this call. I mean, he's really kind of hit the pinnacle. As we all know, I'm only a couple months into this journey of doing this portion of the Mastermind call, but super excited to have you. I want to jump in, like literally just go right into it. Leadership is a word that we hear everywhere. But in your experience leading elite teams under the most extreme circumstances, what to you is inspired leadership? What is inspired leadership?
The story goes something like this. We were about to go to Iraq, and I was a 2-star, and our boss said, I want to have a top 10. If we wake up a soldier in the middle of the night, that he or she, a sailor, an airman, Marine, international person, if we shake them and wake them up and say, execute, do something, that they sort of knew why we were there. And so we toiled over this, and we had like 4 weeks ago before we deployed. We were trying to get our lives and our duckies in order and see our family and friends and all that before we deployed. So we came up with defeat the malign influence of Iran in the south, secure everything that had been done before us in the central region of Iraq, defeat Al-Qaeda in the north, secure Anbar, create civil law, civil capacity. And we got down to 9 of them. And then we had 15 of them, just like that. And so the boss said, nope, I want 10. Go back. So we all trudged out of there, the entire staff, and came back in Friday. And we said, so we're down to 12. We got top 12. He said, nope, we're going to have top 10. And so we went back, and he said, the next briefing will be Sunday at 6:30 in the morning. If you don't leave here Friday evening and give me a top 10. So we said, we didn't want to work on Sunday and deploy the next day. So we got into this. Well, all of these are things we're going to do, but what about the person? Mm. And so Frances Hesselbein, my friends, is about a 102-year-old woman, and she's been the advisor to all the 4-star generals for like 40 years, 50 years. And she told me leadership is who you are and management is what you do. And in military terms, command is who you are and control is the management side of it, right? And so we wanted to say, well, stay motivated, don't get depressed, don't get down on yourself, And all of those were actions or reactions, but it wasn't intrinsic. And so we finally, Lieutenant General named Flynn, Marine Corps guy, Jeff Bailey, later 2-star, Dan Allen, we came up with demonstrate inspired leadership. Because inspiration comes either from a higher source, your faith in Christ, or from what's inside you. When you get jostled, what spills out? Mm. And so we didn't want an action. We didn't want motivate, because you can be demotivated. So we came up with demonstrate inspired leadership. That's the backstory. And so what does it mean when people ask me? First of all, I'll pause there if there's any comment or.
No, you're good. Go ahead.
So then, how do you? So that sounds good, but how? So if I said, Anthony, how do you demonstrate? What's demonstrate inspired leadership to you? Or Chris, what's demonstrate inspired leadership? And so when I meet people, I want to hand them a cup of self-esteem. Now, sometimes I'm making a correction on the mats. I'm always making a correction, right? But I don't make you feel like crap. It's a cup of self-esteem, whether I'm correcting you or whether I'm acknowledging your success, right? So as I've given a lot of speeches, people have said, and you're 3-star, how'd you do that? And, and all that. And so there are 6 things that I think you have to be a part of you for you to be able to demonstrate inspired leadership. I also have said over and over for many years, don't walk by someone without saying hello. And so for starters, all of us, when you see someone and you know them, or you go to the counter, you go to the airline counter, I do that every week, and they say, how's it going? Say, or how you doing? I say, I'm happy. They'll look up. They'll look up. You said what? Yeah. If they're from the other Columbus, Georgia, they'll say, what say? I speak many languages, one of them Southern. So they'll look up. They'll say, I never heard that. So we only get to control one thing in life, and that's our attitude. Yeah. So I'm ready to go through those 6 if you want, or ready to let you.
Yeah, I was going to say one of my next questions, and you might be able to weave it in, or we can come back to it. It's what was one of your most defining moments in leadership? And let's even just say, I think a lot of people know about what happened in Iraq, and when they think of special forces and a commander, we've all seen the TV shows, we've all seen the movies. What would be one of your most defining moments in leadership where you got to implement the inspired leadership?
Yeah, another way of asking that question is, what was the hardest decision you took in combat?
Amen.
And the answer is there were no hard decisions.
Okay.
Because the first thing you do if you're going to demonstrate inspired leadership is you do what's right, not do it right. Yeah. Do what's right, and that makes every decision simple, right? And I normally say, well, here's an example: be true to your wife and leave everyone else's alone. And then I ask the audience, raise your hand if you're married, leave everyone else alone. Raise your hand if you're single, leave everyone else alone. Right? And people laugh like, yeah, or even get the eyebrow up like this.
Well, they've seen plenty of officers that have not.
That's right. And so the reason I say that, that's perfect, because I say that because if you're building a team and you're the senior officer and you tell me we're going to go to war and we're going to stay together, we're going to never let each other down, and then you find out he's sleeping with his driver, right? Or Captain Smith And, then you go, well, what else did he lie about?
That's right.
What else did she lie about? So do what's right. And that means in your business, when you think nobody's watching you, they are staring. So if you take a shortcut, you have now created a standard that says it's okay for them to take a shortcut. If you go to lunch and they screw up the bill and you pay $2 and it should have been $40, they know that you're a cheater. And then they know it's okay. Whatever your rationale for doing that, they know they can find a rationale and be a cheater too. So do what's right is about when you're going to build the culture, because you guys as leaders, as CEO, COO, head of sales, if you have one person underneath you, then you're a leader. But actually, if you have a wife and children, you're a leader. If you're a coach, you're a leader. And so do what's right. It's so simple. And last thing, what? I'll bet your favorite baseball team is the Reds, right? And I'll bet that Ohio State is your favorite football in college, right? So we know that. I'll bet you have a favorite beer if you drink beer, right? But do you know what your faith is? In this case, I think you do. But not everyone has taken that step. But when you take a step of who you are, the first step in leadership, then everything else falls into place. So do what's right and then do your best. So you guys have heard me say, when someone says, I can't do that on the mats, I tell them, there's no can't. The only can't is in a mortar tube in the Army. Okay. This is elevation. And this is can't. Okay. I'm not able to do that yet.
Yeah.
Right. So do your best. Don't try to be the best on the mats or in your business, or as the leader, don't try to be better than all of your employees. Just be the best leader that you can be. Let them be the best employee they can be. And then teamwork starts to oozes out everywhere because they're not competing. Now they're working together.
So let's see if one of these principles fits into this question. By the way, I got to go back to, I had a conversation with somebody that I love dearly. And we were talking about some events of this past week. And my correction to that person was, are you trying to be right? Or are you trying to be for what's right? And in that situation, I'm hoping the person received it, that they were trying to be right.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously there's a lot of stuff that's gone on in the last week that's got people in arms all over the place. But the reality is, we have these opportunities to impact people, and the best way we can do it, regardless of what we think faith-wise, whether we feel political-wise, whatever, because do we want to be right or we want to be for what's right? So I feel like sound like that.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody taught me that in the early 90s. So this next one is, business owners are often struggling with delegation and trust. So how did you learn to empower others while maintaining accountability across such a massive organization? You obviously helped start the National Veterans Memorial Museum. I didn't really touch on that. Certainly amazing memorial and museum, but 75 Army bases, installations, and those are all like separate companies. How did you get people to, how did you learn to be able to delegate and trust with accountability?
Yeah. So when I ran all the Army bases, basically 75 cities.
Yeah.
I ran 75 cities.
Killeen, Texas, where Aisha's from, is one of them. Right?
That's right. What's it called? A great place?
Fort Hood.
Fort Hood is a great place.
Yeah.
Yeah. So all units have standards. All companies have standards. Great companies enforce the standard. Great units enforce the standard. So if you have standards that in business, then you're going to be more effective and more efficient. If you're more efficient, you're going to save. People are going to implement when they believe that you trust them. Otherwise, there's no buy-in. So several things you can do. As I've gained more rank, then I have responsibilities for things that were going to happen. And they would say, I want to give you a pre-brief. And I said, no pre-briefs. But I have to give you a pre-brief. Why? Because everyone gets a pre-brief.
Because that's what we've always done.
That's what we've done.
Yeah.
And I said, are you going to screw it up on purpose? Are you over your head? You don't know what to do. Because I'm here, the same thing. I think I taught Anthony how to tie his belt, right? Because he didn't know how to tie his belt. I'm an instructor. It's my job, right? So, and then if he ties it wrong, then I have standards and I correct it. But I don't have everyone line up at the foot mat, and I don't inspect them on their belt, right? But I notice when they don't have it right. So the thing is, if you want to empower people, then the first rule is empower them. Yeah, which means let them do it. And most of us are not getting shot at, rocketed, or mortared. And I don't mean to be, a smart act about it. But so if it's not going to cost you your business, then grow your people, right? Because the third thing in demonstrated inspired leadership is build teams. You got to wake up every day thinking, who on my team needs to hear from me? And I have a lot of teams. We all do, right? You have this team, right? You have a family team. Okay, you have extended family. Your father's on that
there's
team.
some people that are just salespeople that are listening now or listening on the YouTube channel that they can demonstrate inspired leadership. Absolutely. With just their wife or their spouse or their kids. They don't have to be, a big leader in the company. And
there's not a point on your ascension within your career that you are not. Everyone's a leader. Every place I ever worked, I just allowed a sign to be up that said something like this: clean up this break area. Sign the management. There is no management. That is not a human thing. And I forbid that. Imagine 75 bases where you're a newly assigned person and you walk in, right? I walk in the fast signs. You walk in and if it said, sign the clipboard, sit down. I disallowed that throughout the whole Army because I'm the guy that always is in the wrong place. And I sit for 25 minutes and then they say, Ferriter. And I go up there, I said, yeah, I need to get a new ID card and, a new license kind of card. And they go, sure, that's next door. So the moment of truth is the first 15 seconds with someone to demonstrate inspired leadership. Show you care immediately. Show that they're important immediately. And if you're in this thing, right, where I met Anthony, it's called a counter. Well, what kind of counter? Customer service. All right. So eyes open, eyes wide open, interested. You develop your people, build the team of teams, to quote McChrystal, who took it from me, and then title the book. But
did he really?
So
I've read that book.
Yeah,
that's an amazing book. Team of Teams. Pete, can you drop that in the chat? If you haven't read it, check it out.
Yeah, Stan McChrystal.
But the title came from you. That's amazing.
So build teams. Okay, so the point is, once they realize, they won't care what you know till they know that you care, right? And they won't know that you care until you let them do their job. And then you give them feedback. And if you're a leader, you're probably more experienced than all of your employees. If you're a colonel, you get these experiential templates. You start stacking them, boom, 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 right? You guys ask me a question, I go, move your hand this way. You go, oh man, you're so smart. No, I'm not. I just seen it before, right?
Right.
So if you're a leader and you're doing that, then what you're not doing is very important for the company. You're not making relationships that move your company forward, right? Because you're doing someone else's job or overdoing it, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so you got involved. I want to shift just a second to the Gracie engagement. So again, we met probably 3 years ago. I went to a seminar down at the National Veterans Memorial Museum, and obviously now for the last coming up on year, you've been my direct teacher on Wednesdays and Friday mornings at 7. I absolutely loved it. You've been training jiu-jitsu for decades. You literally helped write the modern Army combatives for the U.S. Army, infusing jiu-jitsu. What do you think are some lessons from the mat that anybody who's not even a jiu-jitsu practitioner could maybe learn from? What are maybe a couple of things that come to mind?
So Brazilian jiu-jitsu, if you're not familiar with it, is as a form of self-defense. The Brazilian side of it comes from a family called the Gracie family, Elio Gracie, and his son Horian and I met in 1997, and then and I'm great friends with the whole family. Well, and so all fights are going to be, you close a distance, you establish a dominant position, and then you finish the fight. In jiu-jitsu, by choking someone or a joint manipulation,
Hyperextension.
Yeah. So in business, you close the distance. It's called business development. It's called customer service.
Remember this from your TED Talk.
Been there,
I did my research.
You establish a dominant position, or you establish a value proposition. Why is what we're going to do good for you, and why is it for me? And then you close the deal. So jiu-jitsu at the very outset is a lesson for everyone. You know, if self-improvement is a goal, then you have to close a distance when you get up and get to the location on time. Right. Right. Be grass, have your gear clean and smelling fresh. And then be in the moment in order to learn. And so we all have to leave on the bench right there, our phone and our worries for 50 minutes, 50 minutes. So
I was gonna say, I got one thing I got to jump in, like, because being a guy that started out in sales back in 1986, I think of when I was listening to your TED Talk, Pete, if you could drop that in, that'd be great. Actually, I'm sitting there thinking to myself that the closing of the deal would actually be de-escalating the situation. If the deal, okay, well, we weren't able to close the deal because this guy, we aren't going to come to a mutually beneficial understanding. So I'm either going to throw him and run, or I'm going to have him take a little nap so that I can get the police involved, or I can just leave the situation. But I was thinking about that as like, de-escalation, in many cases, that is a win. I mean, we've known in martial arts for years. It's like, we don't want to fight. Like we'd rather not. Like, can we de-escalate that situation?
Writing is a skill, except for AI now, ChatGPT, right? But reading is a skill. Free throws are a skill. Hitting a golf ball is a skill. And sales is a skill. So if you have people underneath you, then you need to improve them. So the fourth, demonstrate inspired leadership. Do what's right. Do your best. Build teams. The fourth is take care of the little guy. Or no, I'm sorry, is improve daily. So
that's the next one.
So improving daily all ties into, well, what are you doing with your time? Where are you investing your time? They're either time expenditures or time investment, but it's only 1 o'clock. And so invest your time, organize your time. You told me that you add things to your, so use the management of Outlook or management of one of these tools, or management through your deputy or your executive officer or your assistant or your partner. You're really good at this. I'm really good at that. So keep me on task. And I'm going to go meet people. That's what I'm good at.
Okay, so you're talking about getting better every day. That actually brings up another question that wasn't on my list. If you don't mind me asking, you're how old now?
68.
So 68 years old. You're on the mats at least a couple times a week. I think there's probably times you travel and you're on the mats then. You had a significant life event happen a little over a year ago, right?
I did. I retired from the museum in April, and I decided to have a triple bypass on May 7th.
You decided, or your body decided?
The doctor said that we have all decided that you were going to die if you take even another step. And so I had 95% blockage here, 85 and 80%. And all three were called the Widowmaker. And
all three?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
So anything could have killed me right then. And so by the grace of God, seriously, they found it by the first doctor who said, your tests are all good, but I just got a hunch. She sent me over to Riverside, and they said, man, we've never seen anyone. They said, you're probably in the best shape of anyone that we ever see. And then they paused and they said, actually, you're in the best shape.
Wow.
You don't smoke, you don't this, that, and the other. So anyways, so improve daily. So
Can we stay on the improve daily for just a second? Because I know you're going to come to the sixth one, which I love. I absolutely love, and I watch you demonstrate on the mats because I see you staying after, with in many cases, the little guy and working with that little guy. I want to stay on the because we've done some. We've had some weeks that are very specific about health habits and so forth. So I would love to just hear: are there any routines or habits that that you would recommend? I don't want to say maybe you weren't doing, but if we've got 30-somethings, 40-somethings, they're not, I'm 60, you're 68. What are some things that you would strongly recommend to this group to take care of themselves? Habits that you've done most of your life, I would assume, in the military.
Yeah, so it's a lot of things are, in moderation. So all of us would be better off if we eat in moderation, we drink alcohol in moderation. But there are two type of responses that the body has, and one is fight or flight, and it generates cortisol, and the other is these Dr. Feel-Good actions. So build into your life the things that allow you to thrive and to flow, so to speak, not in a Lake Tahoe, California, 1970s mode, not
that kind of flow
where I was, but Anthony plays saxophone. He gets in a flow zone easily. Yeah. We do jiu-jitsu, but hey, work out every day. Okay, do PT twice a day if you can. All right, and
so
then
that could be a walk. If you do jiu-jitsu or you lift weights, go do a walk twice a day.
Yeah. So after the near heart attack or the heart attack, whatever, I didn't smoke. I've never smoked. I've barely used tobacco. I did Copenhagen for a couple of years in the Rangers. I don't overdrink. I don't eat red meat hardly ever unless I feel like it. But it's not a part of it. So, but when I woke up and I was in this big white room, and I said, well, this obviously isn't heaven. This is way too cheap for heaven, and it's way too comfortable for hell. So I must have made it. And
made it through the surgery.
I must have, yeah. And so, but then I said, okay, well, what do I need to do to live better?
Yeah,
I really getting a second chance. But again, I'm not all that way about a fanatical big change. I just said, So one is get up, have a cup of coffee, and walk the dogs with Margie. Right?
Yeah.
If you don't have
You've sent me a video when you're walking your dogs.
Yeah. If you don't set time aside for those you love, then you're wrong. I'm just saying. Or that's a great adjustment to make. And especially for youngsters, have a date night. People joke about that, but when you get to this age and you have grandkids and some are in town, and we have 8 grandkids and 4 awesome kids, then suddenly you're revolving and taking care of that. And once again, you and your best friend, Margie, of 46 years, who I've been faithful to for 46 years plus, then, set some time aside. And so then the next thing is manage your time. You own it. So I didn't say, I used the word, all those words work. Manage your time. Sit down and say, here's what I'm gonna do this week. And then protect your time. I tell them, I'm not doing a thing before 10 o'clock. Someone say, well, can you take the call at 9:30? No, I cannot. I will not. Why? Because that's my time. Right? And I'm going to be doing PT or teaching jiu-jitsu during that time.
I'm saying, like 10 o'clock is my time.
And then 3 o'clock in the afternoon, I'm done. I can do that. I'm retired, mostly, sort of, a little bit. And so I can do that, right? And when people say they really want to do it, I mean, once you come off of your routine, it sounds like, oh, I just came off my routine. Whether you're dieting, whether you're sleeping well, whether you're reading, the minute you break routine, there is no routine. So fight it, protect it. Set a time. I'm going to do this for 90 days, and then I'm going to readjust. So the biggest thing with all that was reset the routine, be done at 3, here come the grandkids, or go hit golf balls, or go stand on the mats at night when the kids, my 3 grandkids are doing that.
I want you to, I don't want to escape number 6 because I think it's really important. Why do you think, even for folks, I think we can understand that in the military, we don't want to leave anybody behind. Sometimes the little guys are the pit bulls. Sometimes they're the fiercest of the batch, right? They're the runt of the litter, so to speak. But why is take care of the little guy so important? And how do you think some of these business owners What's the little guy to a business owner or even a sales guy that's calling on business owners? Give us a little bit.
Yeah. So
we'll wrap with that, and then we'll open it up for some questions.
So you're building teams, and then individually you have to care about your people. And so you take care of the little guy means no. So I pulled a captain over the counter when one of my privates was no pay due. In the military, if you move, the system loses them. They get to the new location in Fairbanks, Alaska, and he was first sergeant in next door to the office. Platoon sergeant says, "Jones here, there's no pay due." And he says, "Send him to finance." So next afternoon, 3:00, same time, I hear the platoon sergeant say, "Hey, First Sergeant Jones, is still no pay due. There's a problem." First sergeant says, "All right, I'll give a call." The next day, Jones is no pay due. So I stand up and said,
So that just means 2 or 3 days now. He still hasn't.
he's gone to the.
Oh, he's gone to
He's gone to finance,
and they said,
and I said, I know the finance captain. I'm a captain. Let me go. Jones, come with me. So there's me, Private Jones, his team leader, his squad leader, his platoon sergeant, his team leader.
Yeah.
Because they don't want me to be in touch with my soldiers, which is a no-go. And so I would get over there and I say, "Hey, is Captain Tracy here?" "Yes, sir." "Hey, Art, this is where the Army takes bluing." And so another weak excuse. And then I said, yeah, sometimes my voice will get quieter, you guys know from class. So anyways, I said, "Art, I'm going to pull you across this counter and beat your ass in front of all your soldiers if you don't pay this guy right now." Well, back then you could say things like that and not get in trouble as much. And, but that word went through my unit. Captain Ferriter was going to beat that guy's ass. A private that's only been in Charlie Airborne for a week. He really cares about us. That's what he wants. You got us back?
Yeah, it looked like the mute was on. Can you guys hear us okay? Can you hear us now?
Yeah, we can hear you now.
Okay,
Sorry about that. But the short point is, if you're going to take care of the little guy, that is your company. The little guy is your kid. The little guy is your spouse or partner. The little guy is your best friend. Every Friday, 1800, which is 6 p.m., text a friend and say, "Buddy check." You're taking care of someone that might need to hear from you. You might save their life. You're here. I had a gun, had a bad week. My wife and partner left me. You saved my life, man. So taking care of little guys, showing that you care by way of action, and also looking throughout the world right now are soldiers of mine who are millionaires and billion. You don't know how good they are. They're not the private, and they're not the newest employee. You have no idea how good they're going to be. So bring it out in them.
Yeah.
In fact, you need to tell them. You will be. I guarantee, if you're on this call podcast, you will be the first role model and the best role model they've ever had. I guarantee it. You ask them, "Give me 3 role models from your life." You ask anyone that works for you, they'll pause, they'll think, and they won't want to say you. But as goes you, so goes your unit. As goes you, so goes your company. As goes you towards your people, so goes your company. Because they will do things. I got a call from Israel yesterday morning. 2 guys, Bobby Cinco and John McKay.
Mm-hmm.
They're doing security ops for somebody. If I tell you anymore, I'll have to kill you, right? So so I get this call. It's Bobby Cinco. I've got him on my phone, and I know what he does. He's telling someone, "I'll call General Ferriter," and he'll pick up the phone. Cinco worked for me in 1985, and never again. Staff Sergeant Cinco, now Sergeant Major retired. With him, John McKay. He worked for me in 2008. He was in my personal security in Iraq. They got to talking about who's who and who they know, and my name came up right away, and they said, "Wow." So they called me. I said, "Hey, what's up?" He said, "Hey, sir, FaceTime you. Look who I'm with." No. So you don't think you're going to touch someone's life? It's just a little guy. You're going to take care of them. They're going to be in your image, and they're going to think when times get tough, well, what would Rich do? What would Anthony do? What would Aisha do? Because they taught me.
Yeah. So this is fantastic. I would love to wrap us up with some questions. For those that are listening to this video afterwards, again, General Mike Ferriter, Inspired Leadership. Just such an honor to have you on the call. And we'll create a little spot where if we want to cut it from here, we can cut. But thanks so much for being on the Expert Edge Mastermind call.
Oh, yeah, I got time.
Whatever. And then we'll spend just a couple minutes on some questions. Thanks so much again.
Okay.
Awesome. All right, guys.